In this video, I'll walk you through how I created the provided design so you can create your own pattern for printing. You'll need to use a linoleum block that is larger than the design you are carving because the red area under the corner clamp cannot be carved. My design is about 3.5 by 5 inches, so I'll be using the 5 by 7 block. The first piece I'm designing is a circle with a hole in the center, but I don't want it to be a perfect circle. To do that, use the pen tool and place 4 points at the outside edges, clicking back on the first point to close the shape. Then select the Edit Points button. Select a point and change it to a curved corner. Do this for all 4 points, and then adjust the handles until you get the shape you want. Holding Shift while moving the handles will move both sides of the handle together, which will make even curves without any corners or kinks. I'll do the same thing for the inside circle. To make this look like a solid circle with a hole in it, we will first select the outer circle and change it to a fill, and then select the inner circle, change it to a fill, and change the cut depth to 0. Remember that whatever is dark on the screen will get carved out of your linoleum block, and the white areas will stay raised. This is the inverse of how your stamp will actually print. I find it easier to design everything the way I want it to print, and then when I'm done, go back and change all the cut depths to the inverse. Another thing to remember is that what you see on screen is going to be a mirror image of the image that the stamp produces. My design is abstract, so it doesn't matter, but if you're using text or certain icons, you'll want to select them and go to Edit, Flip Horizontal before you carve. Inside this circle, I want to put a bunch of little triangles. I want to print them in a different color, so I'll carve them out of a separate block, but I'm going to design everything together here first before I move to a different spot. Triangles are easy. Just click at the 3 corners and close the shape. You can drag them around to be in the correct position, and if you want to change them after they are drawn, click Edit Points and drag the points around. You'll notice that the points want to snap to be in line with each other. That's what this red line is telling you. So the bottom of all of my triangles are perfectly straight. I want them to be just a little bit off to make it look more handmade, so I'll just rotate everything slightly to make it a little less perfect. I have these triangles set to a different cut depth, just so they appear in a lighter shade, because I know I'll be printing them in a different color, and this is a good way to preview how that will look. I'll change it all to the same depth before I carve. The next shape I'm making is the 4-pointed star shape. Click at the 4 corners and close the shape. Then edit the opposite corners to be curved points. This time, don't hold down the Shift key so that you can move the handles independently of each other. I want to be able to print each half of this in different colors, so I'm going to copy-paste this shape using the key commands Command-C and Command-V, and then delete one side from each of those shapes. I want to draw some stripes over one half of this star shape, so select the pen tool and click at each of the corners. I don't want it to be totally perfect so that the stripe will overlap the shape underneath in interesting ways, so I will just quickly draw those out. You'll see that the points snapping to be in line with each other becomes a bit of an issue here when you want things to be slightly off the vertical or horizontal alignment. One way I found to get around this, if you need to, is to rotate the shape slightly until you can get the point where you want it to be. It takes a little trial and error, but it works pretty well. Now that all the shapes are drawn, arrange them so they can be cut apart. We'll be using a 1/8 inch bit to cut the pieces apart, so make sure you leave enough room between your designs so you don't cut any of it off. Next, we need to invert the designs so that it will be carving away the areas we don't want to print. Draw a box around the blocks, change the cut depth to 0.05, and then choose File, Move to Back. Select this first circle and change the cut depth to 0, and then select the inner circle and change the cut depth to 0.05. We also need to cut these blocks apart so they can be used separately. We will need to use a different bit for that because the 1/16 bit doesn't cut deep enough. To set that up, first draw lines on your block where you'd like to cut them apart. We'll be using a 1/8 inch bit for this, so make sure you leave enough room between your designs so you don't cut any of it off. Because we're using a different bit, it needs to be in a separate file. Make a copy of this file, delete the design from one file and the cut lines from the other. This ensures the lines are aligned to the right place. Change the material to MDF and the bit size to 1/8 and the cut depth to the thickness of your stamp. Also deselect the tab button. You don't need to use those if you tape your block down firmly. Follow the carving instructions using your new files.